What's going on, guys? So today I have two vintage lockbacks, pretty interesting knives. Just got this in trade. I have the note here, but it has the person's personal information on there, so all I can say is it's from Spartan's Exodus on Instagram. I do appreciate you watching the videos and stuff. I do appreciate the trade very much. His note here says, been a fan of yours since I watched your 2012 knife collection video. Thanks for the opportunity to trade. So yeah, I really appreciate the trade. These are some pretty cool knives that I wanted to get on camera, some throwbacks. I have a Kershaw, I think this is the 4200, I think they called it the Big Joe. This came out in 1985. Might have been earlier, but I know I have a reference catalog that shows this in 1985 catalog. So we have an 80s Kershaw here. Rosewood handles, very large bolster, as you can see. We have brass liners on this. It's a mid-lock. All right, so it's a lock back, but it's in the middle there, as opposed to the bottom. All right, see a little nail nick. Just open it up. Let's get some details here. So on the front here, you see the old Kershaw logo. It says Oregon, USA. On the reverse, it says by KAI, Japan, 4200. So the model's the 4200. Again, pretty sure this one was called the Big Joe. But what's kind of confusing is it shows made in Japan, but also made in USA. The steel was made over in Japan, and then of course it was shipped over and assembled here in the USA. But really nice rosewood handles. See, there's a single pin on the back here. All right, really cool. Locks up very well, even all these years later. It's got, what, 35 years old. Just a really cool throwback. Love the rosewood handles. The brass liners is kind of a old school thing too. You don't see that too often. And I do like that it's a little bit different having these very large bolsters. You see how it fits in the hands. Just a really good workhorse. Still sharp all these years later. This one was obviously used. It's all scratched up and stuff, but the person had maintained it. All right, so it has a usable edge. So the next knife here is an old PCC model, Pacific Cutlery Corp. All right, this was pre-Benchmade, also early 80s knife. Also a lockback with rosewood handle scales. Very cool. The Laredo, I want to say this was a Model 100. Don't quote me on it. This is the middle size. There was a larger version of this. And there was also a smaller version of this. Pretty cool though. So I'll bring this up here. Actually, let me zoom in a little. It might be easier. You can see the markings on here. Pacific Cutlery Corp. All right, you can see Laredo that's kind of faded. It was maybe laser etched onto that blade. On the reverse, we see 440C stainless and produced in Taiwan. And of course we have the old Balisong logo on there as well. Very cool. You can see the pin construction, those handle scales. All right, we have a brass tube lanyard hole on here. So if you want to have a lanyard, that's where you would put it. And unlike the mid-lock on the Kershaw, this one is on the base here. A little trick when you have these lockbacks with the lock on the very bottom of the knife, something I saw many, many years ago that I've always replicated, is you hold the knife in reverse pretty high like this. And when you depress the lock, you squeeze. And by squeezing, you're pushing on the back of the blade there, and you see that it starts to close it. All right, so that you can change grips and operate that with one hand. In this case, I can pinch it and open it with one hand. All right, make my cuts. Again, reverse grip, depress the lock and squeeze, and it starts to close it there. So you can use these pretty easily one-handed. But anyway, thought I'd share this. Two classic knives from the 80s, Kershaw 4200 and the old PCC Laredo. Now the Kershaw might be just a little bit hard to find, but the Laredos pop up on eBay all the time. The large ones mostly, there's a couple there that are like buy it nows. The prices are definitely a little bit higher, but they are available. As far as what they're worth, I mean, it's all over the place. It's really hard to tell. It just depends on what they happen to be selling for at the moment. Keep in mind too, if you're buying old knives or any knife on eBay, don't go by the buy it now prices. If there's like 4 knives that say they're $300, all buy it now, it doesn't mean it's worth $300. If it was worth $300, those would be gone. You wouldn't see them there week after week after week. What you have to really look at is the items that have real auctions that people are bidding on it. So let's say you have the Laredo and there's 3 buy it nows and they're all like $80 or something, but they're sitting there because no one wants to pay $80 for them. Otherwise they would have bought them. And then you see one go up for auction for, let's say, 20, and then it goes to 30, and then 40, and then 50, and then it finally sells for 65. That's what someone was willing to pay. That's in and around what their current value would be. But of course, you want to get as many sources as possible where these things are selling. it's just really hard, especially a knife that's 30 plus years old. It's hard to put a value on it. It really is. It just depends on what other people are paying at any given moment. It could change from day to day, week to week, or year to year. Sometimes they're more popular and they're worth more, and sometimes people don't care and then they're worth less. But they're just two really cool old lockbacks from the 80s. Anyone watching who's a little bit older, who knows, maybe you carried one of these back in the day. Maybe your father carried them, grandfather, and so on. I mean, it's not that old, but just really good, very usable knives. Now, one quick note on the Laredo. If I zoom in here, you notice that the tip, all right, this was sharpened at some point, all right, and the tip is kind of flattened. See that angle change right there? Let me come up a little bit closer. You see how this is, it's coming up, got to keep my hand in the background. It's coming up here, and then it just goes, and it goes flat across the top. Well, I don't know if originally the tip snapped or someone sharpened it that way. Whatever happened here, it is a little bit damaged. So this is going to be another future reprofiling video. So stay tuned for that. In the future, I will reprofile this, bring more of that spine down, and get a good tip on this, because I got these not just as a collectible or to make a video. I do want to actually use them. They're fantastic old knives, but they're still extremely usable. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. Hopefully you have a wonderful day. If you happen to have some of these old vintage knives, of course, let me know down in the comment section. Do you still use them? Maybe you got to hand it down to the family. Maybe you found it in a junk drawer. Maybe you found it in a toolbox. Who knows? But they're very cool. These are just as exciting now as they were back in the early and mid 80s. So that's all. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.